So my name is Shea Maze. Pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm a 26-year-old mixed media artist, born and raised and based in South Minneapolis. We're in my grandma's backyard right now, surrounded by gourd plants and food and such. Growing up, I was always surrounded by artistic people. My grandma, my mom, my dad, everybody around me had a craft or hobby or art form that they like to do. And I always kind of picked up on that too. I always had the opportunity to draw or to sculpt or do whatever I wanted. But I never really saw art as a serious like career field, a line of work. At the time, I was super into sports like football and everything. I was like just a jock pretty much. And it wasn't until after high school, until I stopped playing sports, that I kind of found a creative outlet, and I started working in in restaurants, in food service. Started as a line cook, just had no real experience. I actually worked at Chipotle from high school for a few years, and then I just went around applying to a bunch of restaurants around the city because I was just super into food. I was like studying it, watching all of the food documentaries on Netflix and everything, and I really wanted to get involved in that at a higher level. Recipes from scratch and building beautiful plates and everything. I admired the craft. So went around, I applied to a bunch of places. No one wanted me, but then somebody passed my application on to a sister restaurant, and they were just reopening. So they were really desperate for people. And so they hired me. I guess I had good, I was bright-eyed and excited. So I started with that, and then I quickly worked my way up. I ended up being sous chef. So I think that was the first moment where I realized that my creativity could feed into my work life. The pandemic ended my cooking experience, and there was a lot of other things with that too. Where I just, as much as I loved the food and in the profession, I didn't like kind of the atmosphere that came along with being in the restaurant. It just wasn't for me. During the pandemic, I started focusing on, actually I just saw street art on Instagram or TikTok, and I was like, that's cool, I want to try that, not thinking it was going to go anywhere. It went from spray painting to, I used my stimulus check to buy an iPad, just because, I was like, maybe I could do logos or something. And I ended up doing, I illustrated a children's book. I was working with spray paint, like this really messy art form, and then this really precise digital art form. And so I was like far ends of the spectrum, and I think those two starting points kind of like set me up for never being willing to like box myself into one medium. I got started with the gourds because me and my partner moved in to my grandmother's house, which she has been here since she was a kid. This house has been in the family since the 50s. It's always been the family house. And so anyway, we moved in to kind of help with bills, help get everything put back together, get cleaned out a little bit. And while organizing the garage, I found all the old gourds, all the old dried, cured gourds. And it always had kind of been a craft, art form in the family. And I just started working with them, and it was rough at first, but it was just fun to kind of have something that was personal, that was low stress. It wasn't like I was producing them to sell. I was just making something that I felt like kind of tied into my origin story, my roots of growing up in this garden, stepping over these same gourds when I was 5. Black history, Black art culture, all those things are, they're important to me because Black history is history. Black arts culture is arts culture. It's just it's essential to where we are in society, and I think having this art form that ties into my culture and my roots, it tells my story and my family's story really well, and it's a unique one. So it's important that I tell my own story. I applied for the residency because after working with gourds, I had, like I said, I had really good feedback from the gourd sculptures and the pieces I had made, and I kind of sold them all quick, and I started to look at them for what they were. They're a finite supply being, they're almost as old as me, and I wanted to make sure they had a moment to kind of shine collectively, and a moment for us to kind of reflect and like to pay um, to kind of pay respect to my grandma, to show her that, this time, the nurturing, the care that went into this, growing these things and keeping them around. It might not have, it didn't it didn't make sense to a lot of people at the time why she was holding on to these things, why she was connected to these things. And I'm so thankful that I'm the one that's able to do that, for my family. So taking, these 20-year-old gourds or whatever, and that were storing in the rafters of the garage that were probably just seen as waste by most people, taking those and then turning them into fine art, uh, showing them in an exhibition, um, at the museum. It just makes too much sense. I want to create a collective body of work for the exhibition that is focused on, uh, my grandma's garden, which is the name of the show. The emphasis is on the gourds, which were grown in the garden, and then also using natural dye plants, which my grandma has been a textile artist and natural dyer for as long as I've been alive. And there will be opportunities to use those natural dye plants to create paints and pigments and different things to add color to the gourds as well. So it'll be a combination of just different elements of the garden to, you know, show what you can do with just a small inner city lot. I hope that everybody takes away that, especially in the age of social media, you don't need to do things other people are doing. Find a form of art or creation or expression that's personal to you and build on that. It felt weird working with gourds and trying and really putting my time into it when I felt like maybe I should be focusing on building my painting or whatever, but I stuck to it because it felt the best. And gourds, now I'm getting really into sculpture in general. And gourds definitely was the spark in that. So like allowing yourself to branch out into what actually interests you and not what you feel like you should be doing is really important to your development as an artist creator. Try to just look at it not for what it used to be, but for what it can be. With the gourds, the gourds inspire me because when I look at the gourds, I already think they're beautiful, right? Like, um, this is like a uncut, cured. It's clean, and it's smooth, but the shape on this is like so specific, so beautiful, so naturally beautiful, right? And it's just how it grew. And when you're looking at these gourds together, you kind of notice these shapes that I kind of hold them up next to each other, and I'm like, there's a flow to this, And then you start thinking about how do you take parts of these gourds and help them accentuate each other, help them flow together. And I just end up with these weird abstract sculptures. They don't resemble any specific thing, but they flow, they feel natural. I want people, but specifically kids, specifically Black and brown children, to know that you don't have to do the things that society has told you you should do to be successful or to be cool or to be accepted. I think if you find the thing that feels good to you and build on that, I think that will let you shine, and it'll help you be the best version of yourself. Hopefully this encourages people, artists, whoever, to be more willing to kind of share their personal story and use to incorporate things from their life that make their vision and their artistic process unique. Some memorable food is something that when you take a bite, it lights up your whole mouth, right? It's just how I like learn to develop my own personal dishes is, I would actually write like a spreadsheet of the different, so you have your 5 taste receptors. I believe it's 5, maybe it's changed now. But you have like salty, bitter, sweet, savory or umami, and what am I forgetting? Sour. I would make a spreadsheet. I'd make like a, each category of taste, and then I'd write every ingredient I could think of that fit under that category. The elements of art. Think about them like taste buds, and just try to fill all those needs, and meanwhile being true to you and what seems like what makes sense to you, what comes naturally out of it. It's fun, and it's when I approach things like that, I make a lot of stuff that is unique.